the acting Prime Minister of New Zealand, David Seymour, used the Trump assassination attempt to reaffirm white supremacy.
As he does.
And some would say it's a distraction to focus on what he says rather than what he does or his policies, but his words are feeding into his policies. And he's not just acting Prime Minister, he got here using this type of language. And given the referendum that he wants to hold, which could change the way that our laws interpret te tiriti o Waitangi, which could see us losing generations of gains for te iwi Māori within the colonial system. Maybe we should start paying attention to what he's saying.
Yeah, especially given that the media never criticizes him. If anything, they just repeat his lies in extremist language and give him a wider platform.
So I'll read you the quote, just a part of it, and you tell me what you think. Like our country, the United States is founded on free debate, peaceful assembly, and non-violence that are essential to democracy. New Zealand condemns political violence in all its forms wherever it occurs. What do you think?
He says New Zealand condemns political violence in all its form right after denying some of the greatest acts of violence in history. We're talking genocide, slavery, colonisation.
Yeah, New Zealand and the United States, both settler colonies. They only exist through displacing and killing indigenous peoples, like Israel.
Which, by the way, the New Zealand government still, to this day, has not condemned for any of their war crimes against Palestinians. In fact, David Seymour's party are the biggest supporters of apartheid Israel in government. 2 of his MPs have actually spoken at pro-Israel rallies, and David Seymour himself has aggressively and repeatedly denied the genocide against Palestinians.
That's his thing, right? To rewrite history and to deny the violence of colonization, even when it's right in front of our eyes. Why? Why do they do that?
Because it's necessary for the existence of colonial states to deny their own violence, both past and present. That's why they're wanting to change the history curriculum in schools and stop our children from learning about the violent colonization that occurred here. Once they erase the truth about colonization, then they put on their own story, a nicer story about how colonization was good and lovely and non-violent, apparently. And that way, they don't have to pay any reparations for any past wrongs, and they can just keep on colonizing.
No reason to give Māori back their land, because colonization was so nice. Colonizers aren't capable of stealing land.
Exactly, and it's this constant reaffirmation of white supremacy. Colonizers are portrayed as being so superior that they're actually not capable of committing violence, whereas colonized people, indigenous and black people, they're portrayed as being so inferior that they're not even capable of being victims.
Colonizers have a monopoly on violence.
And victimhood.
It's quite extremist, isn't it? To deny the genocide of Indigenous Americans, to deny slavery, to deny what's happened here to te iwi Māori. Why don't the media call them out on this?
The only explanation is that they themselves are racist. If this was a brown person denying the genocide of Europeans, they would be rightly calling it out. But instead, they're busy criticizing Te Pāti Māori, a small indigenous political party, for the language they're choosing to use to describe their own colonization. They're calling them extreme. Meanwhile, you have David Seymour openly denying genocide, openly denying some of the greatest atrocities in history, calling for blowing up ministries of brown people, calling people subhuman, and none of it is labeled as extremist.
And the effect of that is that racist discourse is normalized while legitimate criticism of the colonial system is marginalized.
Exactly.